Welcome into ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. Coming up on today's show, the Braves have finally redeemed themselves.
And looks like the Falcons have a throwback. Looks like Arthur Smith has no time to throw anything back to somebody. And my goodness, are we trying to throw the Falcons back to last season and the season before that to dictate this season?
And last but not least, and for the culture, did Lamar Jackson try to prove a point? We'll talk about all that next, right here on ATL Day Ones. Let's go.
This is ATL Day Ones, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
I want to start by saying thank you for making ATL Day Ones your first listen of the day. Remember, we are free and available wherever you download your podcast. And wherever you download your podcast, make sure that you leave us a 5-star review. Really appreciate that from you in advance. It is ATL Day Ones, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode of ATL Day Ones is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. The Atlanta Braves redeemed themselves because we know how they've struggled in the businessman specials. You know, this was more of almost a happy hour special, so to speak, with the 4:10 first pitch. But the Braves get the dub. And when you think about this series as a whole, I think the headliner, for this series has to be Marcell Ozuna, because coming into this series, he only had 5 hits on this season and 59 plate appearances. So, but when you think about coming out of this series, having a decent batting average and had multiple home runs, where he had 3 home runs in this series total, you just got to look at it and say, you know what, more power to him and good deal.
Yeah, and making the moment count. So right. He was only 1 of 5 in the series finale against the Marlins, but the one was a home run. So getting that big bat back, I think, is huge for Marcell Ozuna, whether he's making the case to be retained by the Braves or whether he's making the case for Alex Anthopoulos to be able to trade him away. The bottom line is he's giving them something. So I looked at it and I was like, wow, even if you go back to the series against the Mets, whether it's Queens, it's South Beach, I mean, he's looking like Marcell Ozuna again from 2.5 seasons ago. So yeah, I absolutely love it for the Braves, especially because it also plays into the thing that we mentioned earlier. It's great to win series, but every time you drop a game in a series, that's still something, especially if it's in a division matchup, that's something that could really come back to haunt you down the road. To finish 5-1, a sweep against the Marlins, their first of the season, and then to finish 2 out of 3, still not bad with the Mets, especially because they're kind of swooning right now. Right. This is the perfect thing, and this is why the Braves are not just second in the majors, but of course, first in the National League winning total in the standings. That's the kind of thing that you want to have going into May and looking at it from the short term and the long term and saying, wow, so many things. The Marcell Ozuna situation, going 5-1 on this road trip, and also battling back against injury or injury scare after injury scare, this entire road trip, and being able to say, hey, we still have weapons in the reserve to be able to bring up like a Dylan Dodd, who comes up same day and delivers like he did yesterday. Those are the things that I think are always a good look for the Braves to say, hey, it's early May, and we're already starting to show that the pieces we put in place in the offseason are actually working to our favor.
Yeah, that's one of the things that you have to love about it, because, right in the NL East, the Braves are the only team that are over 500. And they got the Marlins and the Mets sitting right there at 16-16, I believe, right there in the division. So the Braves are doing exactly what they're supposed to do, because I know even though, they've been kicking the Marlins behind, that one loss for me, was back on the 27th of April. And I was just like, just to see the bullpen just tinkle that win away. And I was just like, man, that hurt. I know that they won the series, but I'm glad that they were able to get the dub 6-3 against the Miami Marlins last night. But yes, like, speaking of injury scare, you talked about Ronald Acuna, when it was so freakish, right? It seemed like every time there's an injury scare, it's just like, whoa, wait a minute, what's going to happen? Is he going to be gone for a long period of time? Yes. Because when he was it seemed like his left knee was planted, and it seemed like so when he swung, the ball, hit the ground and then bounced right off his knee, and it just seems like you just didn't really know what was going to happen or what was going to go down. But, hopefully, everything looks like he's going to be okay. But, and they took him out because of precautionary reasons. But, I think that, I'm seriously considering, every time, the Braves go up against the Miami Marlins, I'm like, man, I might tell nephew, man, just have a seat, bro. Just chill out, and then we'll get you on the other side when we go to the next city.
Yeah, because I tell you, if it's not a hit by pitch, which granted it was the Mets series this time versus the Marlins, but if it's not a hit by pitch, then it's some freakish thing. And so if you're going to play the Marlins, at a minimum, maybe just play them when they come to Truist Park. I don't really like him being in South Beach playing them because, like you said, thankfully, the scares with him twice this road trip turned out to be something where it turned out not to be a big deal. However, when those things happen, it does kind of freak you out because you say to yourself, okay, he is, the body is interesting. It's very, very interesting. So we're still kind of 2 years removed from that ACL, and it still always makes you wonder if there's any muscle group that may have been weakened during the course of that time, which may actually rear its ugly head right about now. So that's where my mind goes. And I'm like, it makes me a little bit concerned that the next time, oh dear, is it actually going to be something? We hope not, but is it? But if it is going to be that, you at least are glad that once again, there are guys like Sam Hilliard who are in place where you just plug in him and play him and he can sub in just about anywhere and give you a solid game.
Yeah, and hopefully, Michael Harris comes back, so they'll need to strengthen the outfield a little bit more. And like you said, he's shown that throughout this early on in the season, that he's capable. He's capable of being out there and holding down a spot, is defensively and at the plate as well. So we definitely, like I said, shout out to Alex Anthopoulos, man. Out here just doing the doggone thing when it comes to, what the Braves need and what they need going forward. And they getting ready to, go up against the Orioles. That's the next team up the bat. And, hey, I haven't checked out the standings in the AL East, but
no, they're doing quite fine. You're talking about identical records. So this is going to be an interesting homestand for the Braves because you have 5 games. And like you said, they kick it off tonight with the Baltimore Orioles and definitely
Max Fried going to be on the mound.
Exactly. So that, I think, is a good look, but it's something to where we say, listen, this is not even remotely a given because this is an Orioles team that's actually having a solid season so far. Yeah. Like I said, the Braves are 22-10. The Orioles are 22-10. And then, of course, after they wrap up with the Orioles, they've got Boston, who's, they're not doing bad. They're not at the top of the heap, but they're not doing bad as well. So interesting test against, as you mentioned, some AL teams that are actually doing good to start the season.
Yeah, Tampa Bay Rays, I throw them in there as well. It's a lot of teams.
Well, they're the best in the entire major. So
right. I'm just like, there's a lot of bad teams
we don't
doing
see them on the homestand.
No doubt. Absolutely. So yeah, we're looking forward to the Braves going out there kicking some butt. Let's do it. I'm saying it right now. Yeah, let's do that. They're gonna go ahead and do that thing with Max Fried on the mound. Obviously, got pushed back with Dylan Dodd stepping in and doing this thing. So we're definitely looking forward to Mr. Maxey doing his doggone thing tonight. Now, T, speaking of, the Falcons out here doing their thing. We got Arthur Smith out here calling people boring. You got Terry Fontenot out here trying to still defend Bijan Robinson pick. We're going to talk about all that next. But first, want to let you know that this episode is brought to you by Built.com. So, yeah, we've been telling you guys about Built Bar and all the deliciousness that it involves, right? And here's why I know how delicious it is. Because, T and I, we've been doing our thing. We've been working out. We've been trying to get our bodies right, do everything we need to do in order for us to live a long, healthy, and prosperous life. So, yeah, Built Bar has been doing that for us. So why don't you join us? Join us and go to Built.com and get yourself a Built Bar. Oh, Jarvis, I don't like ordering online. I don't like doing all that stuff. So here's the solution for you. Go to Walmart. Yes, Walmart, the big box giant. they're in there. And you want to get you a small box, nice little purse safe so you keep in your car when you go to the gym. They got a 4-bar set for you. And if you're a guy like me, I'm the big boy. I got to get the big boy box. You want to get the big boy box? Go to Sam's Club. You shop there for your family. So now you can get Built Bars for the family, from churros to peanut butter brownie, all that good stuff. They got there right there waiting just for you. So head there today. If you want to continue to go to built.com and get your stuff, that's cool. But for those who want to go in person and get you a small box, go to Walmart. Get you a big box, go to Sam's Club, and go get you a Built Bar today.
Yeah, so Terry Fontenot joined Mike Florio of Pro Football Network this week. They had an interesting conversation, of course. Everything always comes back to Bijan Robinson, so no different in this conversation. And Terry,
you're like a lawyer right now.
Yes, indeed.
Just say my case.
Yes.
State my
Terry
case.
Fontenot described him as a playmaker more so than a running back. So it really made me harken back to a guy who you can say kind of revolutionized it in that space, and that's a Marshall Faulk. So I really said to myself, I'm looking at Bijan Robinson, and we're kind of seeing some things on social media as far as his workouts go, if you will. And it's very interesting because he's working out with wide receivers right now. Interesting, right? So if considering that, can he be maybe that Marshall Faulk in the making if indeed the Falcons, Arthur Smith and Dave Ragone are able to effectively use him or kind of use him in the right way?
Oh, it's going to have to be. That's why you brought him in. That's why you take a running back that had a running back that hasn't been taken in the top 10 since 2018, Saquon Barkley. Yeah, and Saquon Barkley is that type of guy, right? They throw him the rock, they hand it off to him, like they just figure out ways to get him the ball. And I think that Arthur Smith is going to do that, and he's the perfect guy that I feel that can get that job done. Like I've talked about it, plenty of times before, and I'm going to continue to talk about it. As long as Arthur Smith is the head coach and play caller of this team, he's going to put his guys in situations to succeed. And I feel like that's going to be pretty easy for Bijan Robinson. Now, I know people are saying like, dang, Jarvis, you all on board, ain't you? Like, I have no choice because this is who they picked. You know what I'm saying? Because I understand from a football standpoint, just from a play calling, upgrading your offense, getting all the weapons that can help Desmond Ridder succeed. Yeah, I get all that. But I think right now you got to understand that this has to work. And I feel like that's why Terry Fontenot is coming to question. That's why I called him a lawyer to start this segment. Like, hey, man, this dude be out here defending this case. He's pleading this case. Say, hey, man, like this dude is more than just a running back because we know that people devalue that position. So I think that, just from a football standpoint, as we get closer and closer to getting the pads on, you guys will understand and see, what Bijan Robinson is going to be able to bring to the table and what Arthur Smith is going to possibly use. Now, Arthur Smith is the type of guy, he don't like people putting this stuff out there, so you probably won't see exactly what he's got in store in the preseason, but you're definitely going to get a good dosage of what's going down, and we'll find out who the first victim going to be, here pretty soon when the schedule drops. So it's going to be something interesting to keep an eye on. But, yeah, they have to use him in a Marshall Faulk-like manner because if he's not close to that, then I question the pick like I did when they did it live last week.
Yeah, and really Bijan Robinson understands the assignment of making himself as versatile and effective out of the gates as possible because he's not just – training with any old guy, right? He's training with the offensive rookie of the year in Jamar Chase. So when you're going to go out there and make yourself an effective receiver, that's the kind of guy you want to see him with, someone who's been effective, who's been successful on the field, also has the work ethic to prove it as well, and of course has an appearance in the Super Bowl. So those are the kinds of things where you also look at Bijan Robinson and say, hey, he sees what a winning mindset and what a winning work ethic and what winning productivity looks like, and he's mirroring that as well. Now, speaking of a team that's hoping that they are on the winning side of it, as opposed to what the Falcons chose to do in terms of initially shoring up the trenches, is the Titans. So Peter Skoronski, who of course was their 11th pick, or the 11th overall pick in the draft, the Titans pick in the first round, he told Dan Pompei of The Athletic in an interview this week that Arthur Smith essentially wasn't impressed with him. And here's what he said, quote, Arthur Smith said, you're really boring me right now. Your answers are so boring. So Skoronski said the whole meeting, he kept looking at his computer, meaning Art Smith. I was kind of laughing to myself and saying, sorry, I don't know what you want me to do. I'm answering you honestly. So I said, Jarvis, for me, that's a very interesting comment from Skoronski, because I always say, my favorite players to interview and talk to are going to be O-linemen because they're so cerebral. But we also know Arthur Smith is cerebral. And that very well might be the main reason that interview that wasn't so impressive might be the main reason the Falcons actually said, you know what? No, thanks. We're going to move on and get ourselves another offensive lineman. We appreciate you, Skoronski, but we're going to go ahead and kind of look at that guy. Oh, Matt Bergeron. A little more impressive.
Yeah. We'll trade up for him in the second round.
We like to look for our O-lineman, but I thought that was interesting.
T, this is so funny to me. I would pay to hear that.
Me too.
Because you know what I mean? Because my whole thing is I understand. I feel like I understand Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith and I have a very good understanding of each other. You know what I'm saying? We ain't got to talk that much. When we interact, it's pretty cordial. You know what I'm saying? He'll take a couple shots at me from time to time, but try to test me. But I throw a little shot back. My preparation back. So, but for the most part, though, I think that this is funny because when you think about how guys prepare so much for these interviews. And he even said himself he was giving generic answers. So it's just dude, just be yourself. At the end of the day, you either gonna get, or they gonna like you, or they're not gonna like you. Because guess what? If you probably would have been yourself, and the tape matched up with the person, because Skoronski from what I've seen, the guy's aggressive. Like to get down there and mix it up a little bit, and he's a guy that you would like to have in a bar fight when he's about to get ready to go down. So if that's, and he's in the doggone meeting room saying, yes, I appreciate you guys, and I appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak with you today. And if you're sounding like that, that's bull crap. Be yourself, and I think that's probably why. The Falcons passed on him, because Arthur Smith man, come on, man, you boring the crap out of me right now. Give me something real. Tell me who you are. I understand that your agent paid for you, to people to come in and work with you and know how to answer questions and all that, but scrap all that, man. Be who you are. And because everybody that has come in from, whether it be free agency or the draft, their interactions have been the same when it comes to Terry Fontenot, Arthur Smith, and it's been very consistent. Hey, these guys are real. I feel at home, or they're saying how they just really appreciate those guys being straightforward and honest. And that's probably what Arthur Smith was wanting from Peter Skoronski.
Yeah, and hey, Peter Skoronski has to read the room. Now, obviously, he read the room very well with Mike Vrabel. He said that he vibed with him when he met with him previously. So that was a good look. He still landed in a solid place. I mean, the Titans
can't go wrong in Tennessee. Yeah,
exactly. So he's still in a fine place, but I do think it is important that you read the room, because if you had read the room, basically from Arthur Smith's first question, you would have known how intellectually intense he is, how intellectually astute he is. And you would have said to yourself, you know what, I'm going to have to kind of step up my game so that I can impress this guy, if indeed this was a team that you were hoping might select you. So it's very interesting to hear. And I'm thinking to myself, wow. Now, for me, Skoronski was never the pick. I was never one who was on that kind of train, if you will. You know me. Right. I was looking at Steve Avila, just hoping all against hope that he die. But I'm not mad at Matt Bergeron as well. But my point being that with Skoronski, I was fine with that, because we already know when we speak to the likes of a Chris Lindstrom, or formerly with an Elijah Wilkerson, those guys, they think, they may not communicate necessarily in the Arthur Smith style, but they certainly think the way that Arthur Smith does. So yeah, he's going to always look for that guy who is intellectual, who's seen the game in so many larger ways, not just the microcosmic, but just seeing the game in the bigger picture, and is able to communicate how he sees that game. So once again, we see that Arthur Smith, he saw what he needed to see to say, hey, thanks, but no thanks. Whereas as we just gave the example, looking at a guy like Bijan Robinson, totally the opposite, because if you heard an interview from him, or if you heard what we just said about his approach to his pre-2023 season, that's impressive. That tells you that he is a thinking man about this game. And if you guys are thinkers about what we do here on ATL Day Ones, which We think you do because you give us great comments in the comments section on YouTube, and you guys will DM us from time to time as well. We appreciate you everydayers. Keep it coming. Check us out on YouTube. Give us your comments. If they are just outstanding, we're going to mention them, right? Same thing if you DM us on Twitter, or even if you follow us on IG and you share or drop a note to us. We appreciate you guys for that. And it seems like you guys are telling your friends as well, because we're seeing more and more new viewers and new listeners. So don't forget as well, you can go wherever you download your podcast, and that's where ATL Day Ones will be.
Yes. Make sure you guys join us, join the family, join the crew, and become an everydayer, because we are already been invited to a cookout, T. I think my main man Slam Bradley on YouTube. Yeah, he invited us to the house. Hey, for a cookout. So,
we might pull up.
We might pull up. We might just pull up. So, yeah. Don't be throwing invites to barbecue, because T and I, even though we've been working out and doing our thing, we do like to get down and eat good food. Good food now. No, we haven't eaten no bad stuff. We're going to talk about your bad. But T, this is For the Culture. It is the intersection between sports, entertainment, the culture, sometimes whatever the hell we want to talk about, because that's just how we get down on this show. Today is no different, T. When you think about all of the detractors that came out, T, when Lamar Jackson was going through his contract negotiation, talking about how he doesn't need an agent, or he needs an agent, and all of these things, and blah, 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 blah. Well, now he is the highest paid quarterback in the league. 5 years, $260 million, 185 guaranteed. That's not the most, but, hey, he got the highest salary. So he's working with a little something. So he got a chance to speak for the first time yesterday with DaCosta and John Harbaugh sitting on both sides of himself, and he basically said, T, always bet on yourself. Do you live by that mantra as well?
I try to. Sometimes in this business, in this industry, it can be difficult, and we have more no's than yeses. So you definitely have to get accustomed to rejection and accustomed to others second guessing yourself. But yeah, I believe that the fact of the matter is this: you just said it. $265 million is still highest paid, and the fact that he was okay with or accepted that it wasn't the highest in guaranteed money tells me he's betting on himself, because he believes that he can hit every single mark in order for him to get the rest of the money that's not guaranteed. So I'm not mad at him. We should all take a lesson. And listen, I was one of those people who was like, well, we've seen athletes not have agents, but if you're Grant Hill and your father played professional football and stayed in the game for decades after he walked off the field, and your mother's an attorney, yeah, I kind of don't think your situation is the same as everybody else's if you're negotiating a contract.
Just a little different.
Yeah, but I didn't necessarily hear those individuals surrounding Lamar Jackson. I think that was my concern, rightfully so, and others' concern, like, okay, when you start getting into the fine print of the contract, not just those numbers, do you have enough savvy? Do any of us have enough savvy, if we're not attorneys or negotiators or brokers or agents, to be able to navigate that piece? But clearly, even at least at the highest level, which is the salary and the guaranteed money, he got what he wanted. And then he bet on himself, because he's saying, okay, I'm already good. But the Ravens said, we know, but we'll make you better, because we'll then go out and draft, and we'll go out and get you receivers in free agency that'll put you right there in that conversation, back in the MVP type conversation, because we'll get you weapons to get you there. And hey, when you come out and say, okay, you want to get 6,000 yards, you believe your press release, but your press release probably comes with a stronger resume than the average person.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think that, you talk about like bringing in Odell Beckham, $15 million, that might be a little rich for a guy with 2 leg injuries. But, if they can get at least 75% of what Odell Beckham was, I think they'll be perfectly fine. And I absolutely love the Zay Flowers pick. A lot of people are questioning his height and all that stuff, but that dude got something in him. They got something in him, T. He has something in him. Yes, it's something special when it comes to Zay Flowers, definitely for sure. And also, he has a no trade clause in there too. So yeah, there's a little savviness when it comes to negotiations on Lamar Jackson's side as well. So, but I think that one thing we have to bring this up before we get out of here, T, because you know me, like my Twitter handle used to be Pettymonger. Like, that used to be my Twitter name, Pettymonger. And the level of pettiness that Bill Belichick displayed on draft night in the first round, I think it's just remarkable because for those you don't know, the New England Patriots traded from 14 to 17 with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, guess who was right not too far behind the New England Patriots before they traded down? The New York Jets. And we all know the disdain that Bill Belichick has for that organization. So he decided that he knew that, the Jets were going to take your man Broderick Jones, locked on your high school product right here, local dude doing this thing. You knew they were lusting for Broderick Jones because everybody knew it was the worst kept secret in the NFL draft. So they knew, Bill Belichick knew that. So he was just like, you know what? Pittsburgh needs some offensive linemen. I don't know who they probably more likely going to trade up here and come get. So he took a 4th rounder to trade up. And guess what? There were 3rd rounders on the table. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, like the level of pettiness, and I know you appreciate this as a Steelers fan because I think y'all absolutely killed it in the draft. As per usual. That's just how they get down. That's why they haven't had a losing season, and Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season. Entire tenure. Like, excuse me, make sure I get that right. So, like, how about this level of petty? This is some high-level stuff. I would never be able to achieve this level of petty because obviously I'm not a head coach in the NFL, but he deserves an award for this one.
Yeah, I am so grateful. On behalf of all of Steelers Nation, we appreciate Bill Belichick's pettiness, and we appreciate the craftiness with it. Like, he just stuck it to the Jets in, like, the worst way. Hey, yeah, Jets, go out and get Aaron Rodgers. And hey, yeah, Jets, go out and get him all his old weapons like Randall Cobb, which I know this, just recently came. But my point being, you can go out and do all of that. But if you don't have who you want to protect him, good luck. And guess what? We're going to make sure you don't get who you want to protect him because we're going to go right there. We're going to keep it right here on the East Coast, but not in New York. We're taking it down to Pennsylvania, and we're going to say, here you go, Steelers. And no, we'll wait. You don't have to give up your 3rd rounders. We'll take your 4th round. That's good enough. Right? Yeah. Oh, when I saw that story, it just warmed my heart. Because I just said, man, the hits just keep on coming from Bill Belichick. And I was thinking to myself, like, Broderick Jones winning, UGA winning. So, I went down the list of petty, and I thought about this too. Kirby Smart never, ever responds to anything that comes out that's petty, right? He just keeps it pushing.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick never says anything about the Jets. He just does things to torture them and has tortured them for decades. So this is just kind of the most recent example or instance of torture. And again, we just want to thank you from Steeler Nation. Appreciate you.
Wow. And on top of that too, just pile on. Just decline the 5th-year option on Mekhi Becton. Yeah, y'all remember Big Boy that came out a few years ago? They declined his 5th-year option. So yeah, they kind of needed the tackle. Just to be able to gather all of that information up for your draft. Not only to be able to do that, but to be able to gather enough information to be able to know exactly who they want and exactly who they're going to try to get. Man, kudos to you, Bill Belichick. As much as I don't like you, just overall because, there's a 28-3 situation that you were a part of and I just don't, really care. But yeah, man, I got to give you kudos on this one. And we want to say thank you guys for rocking with us today. Yeah, good episode on a good Friday. We'll be back on Monday, right here, first thing, right here, waiting just for you. So make sure you come back as an everydayer. Monday through Friday, we're here for you. All those people who are everydayers, make sure you drop a comment in the comment box for us. We appreciate you. And go ahead and download the extra episode if you just started rocking with us and become part of the family. And before we get out of here, I got to make sure I do this. And if you have just joined us and just started listening to us, I do this each and every day. And I always plead with you all to make sure if you don't do anything else, make sure you share love, show love, and most importantly, spread love.